Fleming for Craig Hignett. Hit it, Higgy. Higgy hits the treble!
Ravanelli coming alive again. Juninho wants the ball played to him. Ravanelli spots out Emerson!
Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown podcast. What a week it has been for Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough. 6 points in the bag. The 5 goals against Luton followed the 4 goals against QPR. And you've got the 3 of us to talk through the 2 games on one action-packed pod. Whew, numbers. Tom Green and Matt Rowney join me for this one. Guys, let's get straight into it. Tom, give us your one key takeout from what's been a really good week, actually, for Michael Carrick's men.
My one key takeout is I now hate international breaks, which is funny considering the other day in our group chat, both me and you were saying that we can't wait for the next international break. I think that was just after the Coventry game. But yeah, what a turnaround in the last couple of games, and it's just typical that it would fall now. So yeah, hopefully we can come back and still be on this form after the international break. But I would say that it is a kind of very typical Boro thing that the international break would fall just as we're about to hit form. If I'm remembering right, this happened quite a few times during the Karanka season. So yeah, why wouldn't it happen now?
Right, the football gods have basically stopped us from going on a bit of a run. Or maybe they haven't. We will see after the international break. Matt, what about you? What's your one key takeout from this week?
That we've kind of flipped the script, I think, a little bit. And I think all the talk of what we've been doing right and what we've been doing wrong, or, you know, what might be about to happen, or the potential of this team, I think it's been hard to see that and agree with that at times with some of the performances. But I think, and I've been getting tired of hearing the same old, we're going to batter a team, you know, when things click, when this clicks. But I think we've seen this week, instead of being a team that creates in abundance and is incredibly wasteful, we've actually not performed all that well. But in the big moments in games where we have created, we've actually been ruthless and put teams away. So I think in that sense, things are starting to level out a little bit. But yeah, to see us get back to the old Boro really and put teams away in a matter of minutes with a couple of quick fire goals, it's been absolutely fantastic. And I'm not too bothered about it being an international break. I'm kind of happy to take stock and, you know, just fingers crossed when we come back, we can pick up from where we've left off.
Yeah, I think mine is probably that every now and again we get a very, very potent reminder that this team is very talented. And I'll always maintain the opinion that there's not been a game this season that I've watched and Boro have been by far second best. And I think Boro's worst this season, and what I've said about them, probably the worst thing I've said about them this season, is that we've been a little bit boring, a little bit predictable in a bad way. But we haven't been like absolutely just run over by a side, and we're quite close to having that click moment, as you kind of alluded to there, Matt. I know it's kind of one of those phrases that's been a little bit overused in the Boro sphere recently, and funny enough, we got a question about that later on in the show. But we're kind of on the periphery. Something's brewing, and it's about to kind of come to the fore, because this is a very open championship, and Boro need to keep themselves well in the mix because no one's really running away with it. So it's a big, big opportunity for us. And there's no doubt in that this team is very talented. It is just finding those consistencies and ironing out that inconsistency. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we could do that. But I am going to heed caution because this is Middlesbrough Football Club that we support, and you should never get too high on them. Let's get into this week's games then. Tuesday night, bonfire night. 4 goals from Agri, Conway, Latilaf and Barlasser gave Boro the 3 points. Perhaps not quite the cracker though. Matt, what are your thoughts on that performance at Loftus Road?
Yeah, again, it wasn't a great performance on the whole. I think it's fair to say Boro have probably played a lot better than that at times this season and failed to draw. Maybe well, failed to even draw. I've probably lost at times this season. The start to the game wasn't great. I don't think we were very good in possession to start with. You know, you're against a poor team. You start to worry it's going to be one of them nights away at a team who were winless in 10, hadn't won at home. All the typical Boro red flags were right there for all to see. But we started to see that ruthlessness come back with some good goals in the end of the first half. That continued into the second half. Some really, really good finishes. There was a period at the end of the first half where QPR had a good spell, and there was that aura of anxiety in the second half when they got to go back. And on another day, potentially another team, maybe with a bit more ruthlessness themselves, with a bit more quality, could have punished Boro in some of them spells where we sort of took our foot off and got a little bit sloppy. But yeah, I was really, really, really worried in that second half we were going to see the same again. And I just thought, I can't emotionally put myself through another Norwich or Watford. I just can't. It would probably finish me off. So to say, you know, there was relief when that scored that third and then Barlas sort of completely put the icing on it was massive relief. But you know, these are teams we've got to be beating at the end of the day. So anything less than a win would have been really, really disappointing. So although it wasn't a perfect performance by any means, we were fantastic in front of goals and really well crafted goals. And it was a good result in the end.
Yeah, I completely agree with you that it wasn't a great performance from Boro. It passed the threshold of good in the end, but it wasn't the kind of explosion within the performance that you would expect for a goal-filled game. But my kind of stance on it is that I don't think the aesthetics of the match really matter, especially after the Coventry game. I think a result was probably the most important thing. And also, Boro have played better than that this season in many games and lost or drew. Like, we haven't got the result. So the fact that we didn't play the best but still got the result is the most important thing. And I would much rather that than what I previously mentioned of actually playing really well and showcase exactly what we're capable of and losing, because we've done that many a time this season, and I think that's the frustrating part of Boro's season so far. So it's actually good that we're on the other end of that. And yeah, we didn't play it great. I think we were pretty loose before we scored. There was always that avenue for us because Ben Doak is on the pitch, and obviously he was the one that forced the agenda and set up Riley McGree for a goal that I still don't know what body part that comes off Riley McGree, but it goes in the back of the net, so I don't care. And yeah, it's something that I've noticed actually for the last few games, and yesterday's game against Luton was probably also another example of it. It's not really been so detrimental to Boro's results necessarily, but we don't seem to be starting games incredibly well. I think it takes us a little bit of time to get into it. But as I said, the avenue, the opening was always there for Boro through Ben Doak, and it's really no surprise to anybody that he was the one that created the opener. It was still a game that had its quality in basically the goals that we scored, and I just want to just laud the amazing pass of Finn Azaz for the second goal, for Tommy Conway's goal, because that couldn't have been played any better. It genuinely couldn't. The weight of it, the incision of it, it was so satisfying to watch it just be, I don't know, it was perfect. It was arrowed in there perfectly into the box, and Tommy Conway steals in and scores the second. I just want to ask you, Matt, what was your pick of the moments in that game? Because there were some really good moments in there, you have to say.
Yeah, there was some brilliant moments. The Finn's one is an obvious. And to be fair, Luke Aylin's ball into him was very good too. I find it quite funny with Boro that for much of the first 20 minutes, Luke Aylin couldn't pretty much put a 5-yard pass together, and then he puts a brilliant ball into Azaz. He squares it perfectly. Just shows what we can do when we click in them moments, and then before you know it, it's 2-0 and the game's gone. I thought McGree's reverse pass into Lath was another outstanding bit of quality in the second half. We've known, haven't we, how good our individual players are and what quality they have. And will it quote unquote click? And yeah, some of the moments of quality that we saw were fantastic. I thought Lath's goal was hilarious. I mean, if you could craft a Lath goal, it would look exactly like that. He goes round the goalkeeper, almost runs it out, checks back and sends them both for hot dogs. But then, even though he's got a full empty goal to shoot at, from behind the camera, the broadcast camera, he's hit it still straight at the defender. Luckily, he's behind the line, so it is still a goal. But if that defender wasn't and he was on the line, he'd have somehow missed. It was a peak Lath moment. You can talk about Barlas's finish. I'm delighted for him, his first goal for Boro, unbelievably. But I also want to credit Seny Dieng as well, just for some of the big saves he did make in that. Was it at this? I think it was the end of the first half. He made 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Not world-class saves, but saves he had to make, and it come at a really crucial period in the game where I know we mentioned a better team might have punished Boro. A better team might have come away with something. We might have had another Norwich or a Watford, but yeah, I've heard you talk about moments in games, D, quite a lot, and we've certainly started to come out on the right side of them moments, and some of the quality in that game was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, Lath, that was the most Lath goal that Lath could have scored. It was unbelievable. I mean, the pass from Riley McGree, whether he intended that or not, whether it was more luck or skill, I don't really care. It was amazing to watch, to be honest. It was just the kind of spontaneous incision there that we've seen. The word incision is probably one of the themes of the last 2 games. Obviously 9 goals within them, but that pass in particular is so good, whether he meant it or not. It's just so good. And then when he is it Steve Cook? It might be Steve Cook that tries to tackle him, and I kind of had flashbacks to Cardiff where he kind of trips over, but he manages to maintain his balance and regain his composure. And then he takes it from the goalkeeper, and I'm like, oh no, Lath, you've gone too wide. Cuts back inside, and poor Jimmy Dunn in the goal. Literally, as you said, had the whole goal to aim for, and he just snipes Jimmy Dunn behind the line. It was it was a funny goal. And shout out to Dan Barlass as well, because I said that was the most Lath goal that Lath could have scored, but I feel like Dan Barlass's was also the most Dan Barlasser goal that Dan Barlasser could have scored, because when I think of Dan Barlasser, it's his passing ability, and he literally caressed that into the corner of the net after he obviously tried to play a ball to Hamilton. He got intercepted, and he just thought, why not? One of the key themes of that game was the amount of space that QPR afforded us. You spoke about Luke Ayling's ball into Finn Azaz. The space between the left back and the left centre back was huge. Like, they were all at sea. They're bottom of the Championship now. So is this a measure of how good Boro are? Probably not. Let's see for better opposition and how we fare against them. But still, as I said, I don't think it was so much about the aesthetics of this game. I don't really care that Boro didn't play the best. We just needed to get a result to lift the spirits after the Coventry defeat. And we just need 3 points to keep us in and amongst the seeded batch, as Ali Maxwell from Not the Top 20 says, because it's a very, very open championship this year, and anyone can be in that top 6 as we find ourselves right now. Let's move on to Luton then. Another boring game. Double from Delano Bergzog, the greatest Delano since Adore, and Finn Azaz, plus a fine goal from Emmanuel Lath, put Luton to the sword and moved Boro up to 6th going into the international break. Just a little stat here. Since Boro's last relegation to the Championship, the 4 managers that came before Carrick never saw their side put 5 past the team in a league game. Carrick's Boro have now done it 3 times, against Norwich and Reading in the playoff season, and yesterday against Luton. Before we get into the game, here's the thoughts of our usual host, Johnny, and what he had to say about yesterday's victory.
Hello guys, sorry I can't be there on the pod today, and also sorry if you can hear some fireworks going off. People are celebrating Boro's 5-1 win over Luton here in Norton. It's been a great week for us though, right? 2 back-to-back wins, 9 goals scored. We are one of the top goal scorers in the Championship now, when we were third bottom a couple of weeks ago as well. So the turnaround is really quick, and everyone seems to be feeling very happy right now after back-to-back wins. Let's dissect them for what they are. The 9 goals that we've scored this week, 8 of them could be goal of the month or goal of the season contenders. All ruthless goals, all well worked, fantastic assists. It's just brought that excitement back, I think, across the fan base, that a team, when they do attack and when they get things right, we've definitely and thoroughly deserve to be in and around or in the playoff places themselves, or potentially you could go higher. But I don't want to get too excited just yet. The 2 teams that we played this week have both been really poor in terms of quality. QPR were just dreadful from start to finish, and we gave them a goal. And then Luton at the Riverside today, a side that is short of confidence, lacking of ideas. And I said on the Luton pod this week that if it was a bad result for Luton, I could see Edwards getting sacked, and that could potentially be the case. You never know what might happen tomorrow, but I'm recording right now. He's still the manager, but there is a lot of scrutiny on his position, and I think he probably will go in this international break as well. So, not to bring the mood down a little bit, but we should be beating these sides, and Boro haven't been able to do it earlier in the season, but now we are. We're ruthless in front of goal, and that puts us in a really good position as we move into this international break. Now, in terms of the performances, I don't think we've actually played the best football we've had this season. I've definitely seen better performances in games that we haven't won, in terms of Boro in possession, trying to get ourselves in good areas, and everything was great until the final third. But now when it is good in the final third, you don't really think of the build-ups just as much. You definitely see the goals and what great goals have been. And then just in terms of any analysis work from the game today against Luton, I thought that Aidan Morris was superb. Finn Azaz was excellent. Like Lathbergs, I thought collectively we were very, very good. But what I found really interesting in that first half was where Aidan Morris was dropping into the centre-back, bringing Chong on, and then it was just causing that disconnect between the midfield and the attackers as well. And that created a lot of space for Hackney to get into good positions, Azaz to get into good positions. And when that midfield had to press, it was a big gap between the defence. And that's where Boro could go over the top. And then they were in a really good position, 1v1s against different defenders. And I thought that just worked a treat for us. Really good to see us switch things up, because we did ask about that over the last couple of podcasts when we questioned, can we make plan A better? We definitely can. And also, it shows the confidence that we have in Carrick too, although we should be beating the squads in the teams that we beat this week. But overall, I'm very, very happy that we've got back-to-back wins. I'm very happy that we're nearly top goal scorers again in the division. I'm very happy overall as a Boro fan in terms of where we're going and on that journey. And yes, we are inconsistent at times, but for the overarching time at Carrick's tenure, we've played some really good stuff. We're really well coached. And I still think the journey's bright. We just need to come back after the international break now, hopefully injury-free from a lot of players that haven't been injured in the international break, and hit the ground running as we go into Christmas and then in the new year as well, because it's going to be a lot of football being played. We're going to have to rotate the squad, but we do have the squad capable enough to hopefully get a few results together. I still believe that promotion team under Cranko is a little bit better than what we've got now, but we've got strength in depth, and that's what matters in this division. And if we get that consistency, and even though we are the most inconsistent team in the world going, we should be in a really good place. But guys, really enjoy the pod today. I'm looking forward to listening to it. And yeah, I'll speak to you in our messenger chat in about 5 minutes. So see you in a bit, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Johnny. Fake fan not being on the pod this week, but we'll move swiftly on from that. Tom, give us your thoughts on the performance yesterday. 5 goals, 5-star Boro, ?
Yeah, I'd actually slightly disagree with something Johnny said there in regards to he's seen us play better but not win, and I can see where he's coming from there, but for me, that sort of judgment on performance is quite subjective. And when you look at the game yesterday, to score 5 goals, the way that some of the goals happened and the way that we were playing before some of those goals as well, I would actually say that was a good performance yesterday. It's maybe not the best I've ever seen Boro play, not the best I've ever seen this team play, But I would say it is a good performance from yesterday. I think a couple of things one thing in particular we were doing right. We were playing between the lines a lot more than we have been. It was a lot more vertical and a lot less side to side. And yeah, it might have really benefited us, the fact that Luton was shite, and they were. Like, this has been one of the matches that I just couldn't get enough of yesterday. I've watched Luton fan channels. They would say the same thing as well. There were even a few of them leaving a 3-0 down, so I was thinking, you're not proper Luton fans. But there was... I was watching all those, and yes, they were bad, but you can only beat what's out in front of you. And it was, we were being allowed to play through the lines. We were playing quickly, progressing up the pitch quickly. I do agree that it is taking us a little bit of time to get into games at points. I think it was the same with Coventry. It was the same with Sheffield United. It was the same yesterday. First 10, 15 minutes, it seems like we're soaking up the pressure, and then we'll kind of go from there. I'd like to see us be on the front foot from the first whistle, but maybe it's a tactical thing that we aren't privy to. So, there could be that as well. But like I say, we were playing a lot quicker yesterday, and as a game, it was a lot more entertaining to watch than we have been, and it was a lot more similar to one of the games that you mentioned earlier, the Norwich game, where we beat them 5-1. I would say it was a lot more similar to that. And as a team yesterday, we definitely clicked in that respect, and put away some great goals in the process. So really happy with that performance yesterday. From the highlights that I saw against QPR, when I say highlights, I did manage to watch most of it on my phone, but couldn't really pay attention. There was some decent play there at times, so I am hoping that this is the start of something, and we can come back after international break and carry on against Oxford, Blackburn and Hull.
The start of something. Damn, that should have been the podcast name, shouldn't it? But yeah, the kind of theme, as I alluded to earlier, it's Boro seem to have added their incisiveness again. They've basically met back with their incisiveness that I think we were so good with under Michael Carrick, and we've had many games this season in which we've been the complete opposite of ruthless in front of goal, and the last two games we've been ruthless. And I think the first 30 minutes prior to Delano Bergsorg opening the scoring for us, I don't think there was a lot of quality in the game from both sides, and particularly for Boro, I think I noticed that Hackney and Morris were pretty deep at times, and I think it just opened up a lot of space, too big of a gap, in fact, between the midfield line and the attack. So every time the ball went forward, it very quickly came back. And also the quality of our passing wasn't quite there, but it did take us time to get into the game. And maybe that's credit actually to the way that Luton set up initially, trying to press upon us, stopping us from distributing the ball cleanly from midfield. Although I will say I don't think we necessarily helped ourselves there. But yeah, we grew into it, we counteracted them, and it really came about because of the opening goal and the innovative corner. I mean, I was turning to my dad, I thought, have I just seen that? Have we just scored one from a corner and two from a little bit of creativity within a corner? It was great. I don't know if it was entirely intentional, because I did see a conversation being had on Twitter where people were saying, did Morris mean to get that ball? I don't care. They won't care. Bergsorg opens the score and runs into the Boro fans. Literally, the way that he jumps over he jumps over that advertising board, then jumps over that metal fence. Brilliant. 10 out of 10 agility. And then from there, I think Boro's performance just blossomed and Luton completely fell apart. On Bergsorg, Matt, that was his first start since Cardiff away at the end of August. He was one of 4 changes from that game. How did you think he fared yesterday, Bergsorg?
I thought he did well. I was, and I'll hold my hands up, I think like a lot of Boro fans, I was a little bit deflated when I saw the starting 11 yesterday. I think whenever Riley McGree is not in the starting 11, you instantly feel a little bit less optimistic. And I think maybe from the week before with Ben Doak randomly dropping out of the Coventry lineup, you had a sort of similar sinking feeling. But Michael Carrick deserves real credit for the changes he made yesterday because, as Johnny alluded to, I think allowing Bergsorg and Laff to get 1v1 with their defenders, I thought it was, and Doak as well, I thought they just had them on toast. And even though I agree, I thought the first half an hour was a bit sticky, I could see the potential that we were trying to get in behind, and I thought all we need to do is get 1 or 2 balls right in behind the Luton defence, and they were absolutely done for. And I just thought if we can catch them once and put them away, then they'll be in bother. And although I didn't expect the opening goal to come from the avenue it did, I'm with you. I had to stop and think, am I watching a different team? Yeah, once we got that first goal, there was never any doubt. But yeah, for the changes as a whole, I was happy with them. I've wanted Dijksteel at right back. I just want to say I'm really, really happy with Dijksteel's resurgence. I really did think in the summer if there was one player who maybe was potentially coming to the end of his Boro career just naturally, it was Dijksteel. But I think I thought the Boro had outgrown him, but I think he's done really well to sort of match the level of this side. And Hackney's a no-brainer. We don't have to go into why Hayden Hackney's back in that team. It's absolutely obvious to me, at least, and to you guys, why he's got to come back in. But I thought Bergsorg suited, and Lath too, to be fair, the specific way we were trying to exploit Luton and their weaknesses at the back yesterday. So I think Michael Carrick deserves a lot of credit for not because we've called him out for not having a plan B. I wouldn't say it was even making plan A better. I think it was just slightly tweaking plan A to combat the opposition, and Bergsorg was a big part of that. And I still don't think he should be a starter every week. I still don't think he's a player we can rely on all the time. I still think he's very up and down, but I think one thing I'll credit him for yesterday, he was in the right place at the right time. And he took both goals really well. He should put them both away, but earlier in the season, Boro players would have probably found a way to put that side-footed shot from the corner over the bar. He might have hit the defender or put it wide for the tap-in, but credit to him, he was in the right place at the right time for both of his goals yesterday. And we mentioned the squad, to have a player come in and have that impact's a positive. So I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for all the changes, and I'm happy for Michael Carrick because I'll hold my hands up. I was sceptical of that lineup, but he got it absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I think on the stickiness within the opening half an hour, what I would have liked Bergsorg to have done a little bit more frequently is drift in field and operate also on the right-hand side, a little bit like how Riley McGree does. Listen, you're never going to completely replicate the way that Riley can influence a game, because I feel like only Riley McGree can do that within this team and within that role. But I did notice after we opened the score, and he was doing that a lot more, Bergsorg. And it's only good for Boro's squad that you've got a player like him who has had to bide his time. He's probably been frustrated. In fact, Carrick said that he's been frustrated, but in a good way, because obviously he wants to play for this team. He wants to positively affect the team. And I feel a little bit bad for Bergsorg because before a ball's even kicked, he's trying to fight this perception of him as being a greedy player. I don't think that's necessarily a completely unfair perception, but it's constantly on him. But yeah, he's got to try to get the fans on his side. Not like I think they're not, but this will definitely help. And on Dijksteel, this is the second time Luton have committed GBH on poor Anthony. To Heath Chong, you will start coughing in 7 days. I will get you. You don't do that to Anthony Dijksteel. Anyways, that aside, I want to go back to the corner as well, because it's not like I'm not giving it credit. I will give it credit because Boro did try to unlock the door, and of course they did. Little ball across the ground for Ben Doak from Azaz, trying to put it back into the centre of the box. It's good. It's really good, innovative thinking, everything that I've wanted from Boro from corners, because we can really just add a few more goals to our game if we, try that more often. So, yeah, and I do think in the end, Luton were pretty fortunate that between probably the 60th minute and then up until Azaz's goal, Boro slightly just reserved their energy. They didn't need to overexert themselves because they were 4-0 up at this point. If Boro really wanted to, I think that could have been a complete and utter rout. It was very, very good from us, very clinical. Open question now for you guys. What was your pick of the goals? You've got 5 to go at, so please tell me what's your favourite from yesterday's game.
Well, it's a difficult one, this, because on face value of it, I think everyone would go for the Finn Azaz one. But then when you think back on all the, well, no, not the Finn Azaz one, the second Finn Azaz one.
Yeah, I know what
When
you
you
mean.
look at like all of the goals, there was like a lot that went into all of them, and they were all good goals. I would still say Finn Azaz is second, because for me, that was what I've been waiting for Finn Azaz to score for quite a while. They actually mentioned it in the interview on BBC Tees afterwards. They were like, "Oh, that's kind of like your trademark goal. You scored one against Boro last year, but you've not scored one in a while." And he was like, "Oh yeah, haven't done it in a while. Good to get that one." I didn't think that was going in at first because of where I sit in the Riverside. I thought that was going wide, so I didn't have like a clear perception that that was going top corner. So a few people around me were already starting to kind of like creep up and like get ready to celebrate, and I'm just kind of sat there like, it's going wide. And then I see the net ripple, and I'm like, fucking get in. That for me was a really good goal. But I'd also like to give a bit of credit to Bergzorg's second, and mainly to Latte Laugh for that, because that happened right in front of me. That's the benefit of being sat where I am. I saw the step over. I saw the little sweaty pass to Bergzorg, FIFA style, and just the tap in. And I'm just like, this is what we've wanted from Latte Laugh. And this is, going back a few episodes to where we were saying he should be taking out the team. He's thinking too much on things. He's snatching at things. I think now we're seeing that Latte Laugh isn't thinking too much about his chances. You can see that from his first goal, where it was literally bring it down, touch, and then tease himself up for a shot, and it all happened within seconds. And then there's that one where he does the big long looping step over, and then still squares it off to Bergzorg to put in. I'm just thinking, a few games ago, he wouldn't have done that. He might have aimed it straight at the keeper, or tried a bit too hard to do it and end up missing. Now he's not thinking, and it's great. We need him to kind of keep playing like this. So, whether it's the rotation that's having that positive effect, and Conway might come in against Oxford and get a couple, and then the onus is on Latte Laugh to score again to kind of get back in. Or maybe it's just the fact that he's on a hot streak now, but we need to keep him playing like this, and we also need to keep Conway playing like the way he is as well. So it's a very good problem for Carrick to have now.
Yeah, I think it's great to have the pick of the bunch, isn't it? What a great dilemma to have. I really like Latte Laugh's goal, and I think because I'm in the north, I couldn't quite believe it when I saw it go. I mean, first of all, the ball from Azaz is such a clever ball, but to see Latte Laugh that touch, I mean, he sent Mengi into the River Tees. He pretty much put him in a different postcode. The touch was outstanding, but I still thought, he's on his left foot, but he side foots it into the corner perfectly, and I thought that, the Latte Laugh who hadn't scored, 1 in 10 wouldn't have done that. I feel like we've got our Latte Laugh back. From last season, who was just doing crazy, instinctive, beautiful things. Same with the Bergzorg goal. I thought he cocked it up at first. Couldn't be brutally honest. I thought he was running through 1v1 and he was going to shoot, but he's like got his feet muddled up and he just happened to square it. But it was actually really, really clever play from Latte Laugh. But I've got to give, to be fair, Azaz's first goal was well crafted as well. Hackney's ball deserves a lot of credit. It was a beautiful ball from Hackney. But I think just for the reaction of Johnny Bullock for the Finn Azaz fifth, he did a proper Neil Warnock, hands behind the head in absolute disbelief. That was sort of the reaction to everyone in the north, because as you say, you're right behind the goal. So when he puts it across, could go anywhere, and to see it hit the net was just, fantastic. So pick of the bunch. You could argue that all of them were great in their own little individual way.
Yeah, it's so good, wasn't it? The quality of goals that we scored yesterday. When I previously said that I thought the game was lacking quality within the opening half an hour, all of a sudden it just clicked into quality, and we saw 5 really good goals. And I'm going to mention RUTHLESS because I think that was my favourite. I love Finn Azaz's second goal. The strike was fantastic. But in terms of the goal, the way that it was crafted, yeah, Finn Azaz's looping ball over to RUTHLESS, the way that he takes it down, mugs Mengi off, and then with his left foot just finesses into the bottom corner. Very good. The one that you mentioned, Matt, but hasn't really got that much love is Finn Azaz's first. That is the reward of having Ben Dork in the team, because he'll get chalk on his boots, he'll run, he's like a road runner. And I've previously likened him to Adama Traore, but actually Ben Dork has far more intelligence than Adama Traore did. He knows what the right pass is, and he knew the cutback was on Finn Azaz there to strike home. Azaz, we've got to talk about him, so we're going to talk about him. People that get Finn Azaz, people that have maintained his talents, loved the game yesterday because he was showcasing it. Those that have taken a little bit of time to warm to him, I think they saw his talents yesterday. So that's okay if you didn't get Finn Azaz, but I'm pretty sure people do now. So welcome. It's very comfy here in the Finn Azaz hive. How good was he yesterday, guys?
Very is the answer to that. He, like we've said before, statistically has been very good this season, but ultimately when the chances aren't being put away, it's hard for people to look at the stats and kind of see that. But he has created a hell of a lot of chances, and what was really good I thought was really good yesterday was seeing him get the assist for RUTHLESS, because the amount of chances that those two together would have created beforehand hadn't been put away. Now it has been. And I think when Azaz is now on the form that he's on, RUTHLESS on the form that he's on, there's potential for a lot more there. But I really think Finn Azaz is, I don't even want to say growing into it a little bit more now, because he was doing well anyway. But now he's kind of gone past that to a different level. And I think you can see it in terms of his confidence. The trick that he did against QPR, absolutely sent that defender for a hot dog. And I think you can see it when he's receiving the ball as well. Something I noted quite a few times yesterday. He'll be receiving it. He might be in a few yards of space, but he almost kind of does this little shimmy to one side and then kind of carries on dribbling to another. And even that, he's getting away from people marking him before the ball has even come to him. And yeah, I think there's a lot more to come from Finn Azaz. Especially like I say, now he's on this sort of form. I'm really looking forward to seeing it, and I really can't wait to watch us lose to Oxford 2-0. Now I've said all this.
I'm with you. I've loved Finn Azaz for a long time, and I'm so delighted to see that other people are too. I mean, he is such an intelligent footballer. He's so technically gifted. His touch at times is absolutely mesmerising, and Mado alluded to it as well on BBC Two yesterday. He's always scanning. It's like he's one step ahead of play. He almost knows where everybody is before he's even received the ball, so he knows exactly what he's going to do afterwards. And I think it's not his fault. He can't legislate for the forwards in front of him not taking their chances. And it's good to have that sort of high risk footballer in our forward positions, because a lot of the times he is going to try a pass that you maybe have to get absolutely perfect. But we saw against QPR, when it happens, it's absolutely fantastic, and it could make the world a difference. And it's not going to come off every time, and that might get fans frustrated. But when it does, it makes such a difference. And now that the forwards are starting to take their chances, which I hope continues, I think his goal contributing numbers are going to just absolutely go through the roof. So hopefully that will just help more people see the brilliance of Finn Azaz. But he's just such a fan. He's just a footballer. I enjoyed watching him so much yesterday. Every time he got the ball, I was just, grinning from ear to ear. Love seeing him play. Love seeing him full of confidence. And I just want to see him do it consistently, maybe against the better teams. Maybe at times he needs to be a bit stronger physically, but yeah, we've got a fantastic player there, and if this is the start of us seeing him at his real best, then I think the goals we're going to score, and I think where he's going to help take this team this season. It's exciting. So, yeah, delighted to see him finally get the credit he deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. He's undoubtedly a talented player, and I love risky footballers because when we meet the reward, it's so satisfying, it's so fulfilling, and I would much rather Boro have a player like Azaz than to not, because for the time that I've been supporting this club, we haven't had many players like him that can just turn on a dime and then ping a ball over to the striker or thread that through ball in a split second. His vision is so good, and that's a fantastic trait for an attacking midfielder to have in this division. Yes, he's frustrating. I'm not going to sit here and say that he hasn't frustrated me this season. Sometimes the chopping inside and outside, when I'd much rather he just play the ball or shoot, it can be frustrating. But my God, when it works the way that it did yesterday, and you see basically just the full skill set of Azaz, it's such a delight. And Luton just couldn't get to grips with him. Something that he does as well that I've noticed that people may not do so much because it's very much off the ball stuff, is that he occupies the left centre back and the left central midfielder, so that it basically gives Ben Doak a 1v1. And I think that's something that I've definitely noticed. And I was going to mention it on a previous pod, but then he got a load of shit after a game, and I just didn't think it was the right time to do that necessarily. But I think he's a fantastic footballer. I'm so glad that we've got Azaz here. And yeah, he's just, I'm with you. I'm really glad that he's getting his flowers, because he's undoubtedly a very talented footballer. The question that everyone is kind of thinking off the back of two resounding victories is, have Boro clicked?
Short term, yes. Like I said earlier, I think we had for yesterday's game. I don't want to definitively say, though, that we've clicked, because we could quite easily come back after the international break, lose, and then everyone's, kicking off again, and it's the end of the world again. I'd like to see us continue playing the way that we are. And if that happens, I'll be very happy, and I will consider us to have clicked. And if it has, then I'm very happy that it's happened a lot sooner than last year. But we need to, put it into what's the word I'm looking for? Put it in perspective. We played two poor teams this week, and we need, Oxford at home. It will be a difficult game. It'll be a different game to what we've just played. So we might go back to playing a different way to try and get a result. But I really hope that a lot of the players who are now on form can continue that form. And, if we can continue getting results, there's no point. There's no reason why we can't get 9 points out in the next 3 games. So if we do that, I think everyone will be very optimistic about our chances this season.
Yeah, I never want to say that we've clicked, because I'm not quite fully trusting of us yet. And I think we have played two very poorly performing teams. That isn't to take credit away from Boro, but it is to just add that additional bit of context, I think, that just maybe slams the brakes on a little bit. Time will tell on whether we've clicked or not. But what I will say as well is that against Sheffield United, we were good. Against Norwich, we were good. Rather unfortunate that we came up against the best player in the Championship in Borja Science, and God knows what would have happened if Hayden Hackney didn't get sent off against Coventry. Would it? I don't think it would have been a 3-0 game. I know people were saying that we were poor before the red card, and I completely agree. Don't think that would have stayed the same for Boro. So our performances are getting, well, I was going to say getting better, but they've always been pretty decent for the whole, with the exception of an odd few. It now seems to be that we're becoming a little bit more effective, which is really, really good. Before we move on to the praise and place, I just want to leave the last word within this section to Tony Mowbray, who was on co-commentary duties on BBC Radio Tees yesterday. He revealed that he'd been diagnosed with bowel cancer and is on his way to a full recovery. So all of our well wishes go to Tony Mowbray. It always strikes me with Mogger just how loved he is, not just by Boro fans, but by the whole footballing world, really, including the fans of the former clubs that he's managed. And I think it's the measure of just how good of a human being he is. I had the privilege of being able to speak alongside him yesterday on BBC Radio Tees for a short while. And yeah, just well wishes to him. So good to hear that he's on his way to a full recovery. But shall we move on to the praiser place? Because there's plenty of praise to give out this week. As Johnny says, yes, it's the praising place. And we're going to give out lots of praise this week because there's a lot of good things to talk about. So guys, please get me started. Tom, I'll come to you first. Who gets in your praising place this week?
God, this is the most difficult question of the podcast, is deciding who gets in it this week. Like they laugh, Azaz, Hackney, Dork, Dieng for that spell of saves against QPR. I was managing to watch it on my phone at that point, and I was just like, God, they're peppering our goal, but he seems to be having the typical goalie who used to play for us coming back to haunt us performance against QPR. George Edmondson for playing through his sickness bug yesterday and apparently throwing up twice on the pitch. Glad I didn't see that, but
I know, same.
Shows his type of character. Aidan Morris, Bergzorg for his 2 goals.
I think the better question is who doesn't get in the praising place this week, right?
Yeah, I'm sure we could think of a few people after the last week that we've had dinner, but
oh yeah,
it's I would say the majority, if not all, of the team get in the praising place this week.
Matt, who gets in yours?
Dieng for his spell at QPR, not his spell as their goalkeeper, the spell as Boro keeper at QPR. Edmondson, as Tom mentioned, getting through that game with a bug, thrown up twice. That's fantastic passion right there. Hackney and Morris for continuing to be a brilliant midfield pair. Ben Duck for being an absolute menace. Azaz goes without saying. Bergzorg for a brace. McGree for his ball against QPR. Lath for scoring twice. Conway for scoring. Ledbetter for the set piece. Carrick for his tweaks. The kit man, the physio, the tea lady. Rory. I saw Rory when I was at the under-21s game midweek. Got a good fist pump off Rory. The first one I've had since I was about 5 years old.
I love that.
So yeah, I could praise everyone and everything, to be honest with you. It's just stick the whole of Teesside in the praising place this week.
On Seny Dieng, up until Victor Johansson's incredible game for Stoke against Blackburn on Wednesday night, Dieng had the biggest goals prevented number. He prevented 1.68 XG. So yes, you could maybe say that the shots that he was saving weren't, high quality chances, but still a very important display at a time that Boro needed it, because we were I think we were 2-1 up at that point, maybe. And yeah, it was good for him to basically keep us in the game. He was getting pelters from the QPR fans. I think he was getting booed in the second half, which was quite funny. It's good to be on the right side of a goalkeeper coming back and haunting their old side. But yeah, there's so many that you can mention. I truly don't know. I'm going to pick out Aidan Morris, actually. A little bit of a maybe under the surface pick, but he's so good. And there's not a lot of times that I physically stand up and applaud a player off the pitch because they have to really earn it. But I just love Aidan Morris. I absolutely do. Kudos to whoever scouted him, and kudos to Boro for landing him, because he's just taken to the Championship so well. He's got the physicality, he's got the energy, he adds a bit of aggression to Boro's midfield. And I'll agree with Johnny, what he said about Johnny Howson. Boro fans overrate Johnny Howson. It's not saying that he's a bad player, but he's nowhere near Hackney and Morris right now. That midfield too is so good. You do not change that. There were a few questions coming into this game. Does Howson retain his place? Absolutely not. Howson is the most used player under Michael Carrick, but Hayden Hackney is close to that. Obviously, Hackney had his spell out last season injured, but there's a reason why Michael Carrick really rates Hayden Hackney. He's that added drive and creativity to Aidan Morris's physicality and aggression. He reads the ball really well, reads the game really well, and he's always in the right place to intercept the ball. So yeah, I absolutely love him. So I have to put him in the praise and place this week. Aside from Boro's first team, Boro under-21s came back from 2-0 down against Borussia Mönchengladbach in dramatic late fashion earlier this week. Goals from AJ Matthews and Jack Stott levelled the game before Matthews struck again on 92 minutes to win it for Mark Tinkler's side. Some very good knee slides in there. To be fair, our under-21s, they just get it in regards to Knee Slide Club. And by the way, we do have Knee Slide Club merch. If you head to www.t-side.co.uk, you'll find the Boro Breakdown collection. Matt Rowney, you were at that game at the Riverside. What did you make of the under-21s, the young Reds coming back from behind to win?
Yeah, it was brilliant. As I said afterwards, it was the best game I'd had at the Riverside up until that point. I wasn't expecting a 5-1 to follow it, to be fair. But yeah, really, really good. It's free for season card holders, £2 parking. It's just really nice, I think, to go and support them on a midweek night if you can. And yeah, they play very similar to us, so it's an enjoyable team to watch. And yeah, we were unlucky to be 2-0 down on the night, so we deserved at least a draw. But to see us come back in them circumstances and win it on was absolutely amazing. And yeah, Jack Stott's screamer was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, thoroughly enjoying the Premier League 2 International Cup. And if there's any other Boro fans that have season cards or even don't, it's only a few quid. So yeah, next time they're at home at the Riverside, definitely go down and support them, because yeah, I've been to the first 2 and I've enjoyed them both a lot.
Yeah, brilliant from Matt Tinker's side. Well done to the under-21s, landing a place in the esteemed praise and place on the Boro Breakdown podcast. Let's move on to podcast questions now. Podcast questions. You know where to find us if you want to give us a question to tackle on the pod. Twitter, Boro_breakdown. Email theborobreakdown@hotmail.com. We're on Facebook as well, the Boro Breakdown podcast. And we're on Instagram and TikTok and everywhere else, really. But the first podcast question this week comes from Keith. He asks, could Dijksteel on the right and Ayling on the left be a permanent fix? Seems to have worked okay for a game and a half, albeit against very poor opposition. Tom, do you want to get stuck into that one?
Yeah, I would say no, it's not a permanent fix. It has been borne out of necessity in that Neto Borges is ill at the moment. But I do think Neto Borges is the long-term kind of pick for that left back spot, if not Alex Bangura when he comes back. You know, it's something we have to do at the moment. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with that as a back four against better teams. You know, we might have to make some sort of tactical tweaks, or you know, the left back staying back all the time in that case. But no, I think before he was ill, Neto Borges was really kind of finding his feet in the side, and I think he just needs the chance to continue that. So for me, he's back in as soon as he's well again. And yeah, hopefully he kind of continues that trajectory.
Yeah, I agree. Get well soon, Neto Borges. The next one is asked by Dave. At what point do you trust this team? I want to get all of our opinions on this one. So Matt, do you want to kick us off with your thoughts in response to that question?
I'll answer that question with a question. At what point can you ever trust Middlesbrough Football Club? I don't think I've ever fully trusted us in my 20 plus years of supporting this football club. I countless times have been, you know, encouraged and have felt optimistic and have had my hopes raised to a ridiculous height, and they've always managed to absolutely slam them down to earth. But in all seriousness, I think within the context of this league, I'd still like to see us put a run of results together when we get back from the international break. I know we've alluded to the fact that we've played 2 very weak teams this week, and I'm absolutely in agreement with that. It's definitely contextual. It's definitely key to think of that. But we've also beaten some very, very good teams this season away from home, and Boro normally do fare better. So if there was one area of our game where I think we were missing big time, was the ruthlessness to put away teams we should be, because we struggled with that last season. We struggled again at the start of this season. So if being able to beat these lesser teams completes Boro and we continue to beat the better teams, then yeah, I'll probably start trusting them. But we still have to put a good result of a good run of results together after the international break for me before I get too content just yet.
Yeah, I think for me, it's trying to break down those low blocks. If we find a resolution to that, if we find a winning formula against that, then I think I'll start to trust Boro. We've added a little bit more efficiency to our game. And yes, it is against lower opposition, but it's still being ruthless. And that's definitely not something to kind of just set aside because it's against QPR or because it's against Luton. So I would probably say that, yeah, if we manage to find that winning formula against sides that have faced Boro and it's been Boro's undoing, then I think I'll trust us. And of course, it's about consistency, isn't it? So if we manage a run of, I don't know, 6 to 7 games in which the majority of those are victories within good performances as well, I think I would then trust us. But yeah, there is that caveat that we do support Middlesbrough Football Club, so trust is a very dangerous thing. Tom, do you want to finish us off with this question?
Yeah, I mean, I've just done a quick Google search on the last time I trusted Boro, and it turned out it was the 1st of August 1998. We played Empoli in the JD Sports Cup at the Riverside.
Oh, I love that.
It's the first match I can remember being taken to at the old age of 5. And yeah, I think I went into that expecting nothing but a Boro win, and then I watched Benfica beat Newcastle on penalties and Boro lose 1-0 to Empoli, and then never trusted Boro since. But yeah, I mean, I would say if we can, I think if we get the 9 points from the next 3 games, as I think, there's no reason why we can't, then I think I would start trusting Boro a little bit more. I think there's always the risk with Boro that, we'll lose to like a Rotherham or something randomly, and then it'll throw everything off. But for the moment, I'm happy with how we played the last 2 games. If we can come back and get a good result against Oxford, I think the optimism will start to grow. And if we can do it consistently, that's the point where a lot of trust will be placed in Boro.
1998 was that you first... I thought you only started supporting Boro 18 months ago. That's what someone said last week. But anyways, moving on from that. Do you think Derby are our Rotherham this season, potentially? Because, I mean, they are managed by Paul Warne, so there's every chance.
Well, potentially, we're going to have to wait till the home leg at the Riverside to see that. But yeah, I mean, as I said, after the away game, it was such a Boro versus Rotherham game that it could very easily happen again at the Riverside.
Any game I go to away from home, that happens, by the way. It happened twice last season.
You know what you
it
need
happened
to stop
again this
doing,
season. I have stopped doing it. I have. And look, things are going all right now.
So basically, if Boro lose on the road and Matt's there, it's all Matt's fault. Well, we all know this by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. What a week it has been for Boro. We now breathe and enjoy or endure an international break. Thank you guys for joining me. And if you, the listener, enjoyed this episode, then we'd love to hear from you. Give us your feedback, be it on Twitter, email, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You know where to find us. So yeah, it's been a great week for Boro. Have a nice break, and we'll see you on the other side of it. Up the Boro Breakdown.